And we're live. All right, fantastic. DJ,
Kevin,
how are you doing this
I'm
fine
doing
Saturday?
I'm doing pretty well.
So we both, I think you probably faster than I did, got done with the newest title in Capcom's Resident Evil franchise, Resident Evil Revelations 2. And
Oh yeah.
we both, I
Awesome.
think we both really liked it a lot, right? We've got a review that'll be going live hopefully this afternoon for it. So,
Yes, I very much liked it.
yeah.
I enjoyed unlocking things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this thing right now is not something I think we've done on the site at all before. This is sort of I've labeled it as Postmortem, haha, because, Resident Evil. But we're going to be looking at a bunch of different stuff, just sort of talking in depth just about a singular game, like this game itself. But we're also going to go into some of the deeper, like, lore bits, because Resident Evil got started back in 1996, so that was almost 20 years ago, I think. Right? So I got my dates right. Maybe it was 95. It might have been 20 years ago. I feel like they were celebrating there because of the remake thing, but a long time ago.
Right.
So there's lots of lore. We're going to get into some of the nitty-gritty with the story details that are in Revelations 2, because I feel like story is a pretty big part of this game. It is for most Resident Evil games. So if you want to dodge spoilers, probably want to watch this video afterwards. Maybe just read the review. Right now, from my perspective, though, this game is absolutely worth $25. What do you think?
Yes, I would definitely say it is. If any, I mean, it's really good if you're trying to find a good co-op game to play with somebody, but even if you're not, I'd still say it's worth it.
I mean, we might as well get some of the bad stuff out of the way here. We were sort of, I don't know, willfully misinformed or something like that, but the game, when it was advertised and at its core, is very much a co-op game, as you managed to play, like, when you got it on the 360. But we originally thought that there was going to be online multiplayer for the story mode, and that wasn't the case for the PC versions, right?
Right. I mean, it's not a case for any of the versions. There's no online co-op, which they failed to mention, but specifically, there's no split screen on the PC versions.
And
they've since, I mean, there was a mod to add it in, and they will be officially adding it in, but still, it's like, it just seems like a missed opportunity not to have online co-op for this game.
Right, especially when we have, in fact, we need to finish up at some point the Resident Evil 5 co-op thing that we're doing over the internet, and Resident Evil 6, which you can play over the internet. So it's just sort of like, it was natural for me to think that maybe you would be able to do this, but clearly, like, it was out of my purview and wheelhouse. And you decided, anyways, that you wanted to play some of the co-op stuff. So you not only bought it for me, bought it for yourself on the PC, but you also managed to pick up a copy on the 360, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And I was able to play with a friend a few times, and the co-op is really fun. I mean, that's pretty much what they were going for. They designed this game from the ground up to be played by two people.
Right, and like, it's sort of a fun industry word right now to talk about asymmetrical, like, multiplayer. But that's what the co-op is asymmetrical. You have a main character that does a lot of the action, a lot of the gunplay, and then support characters through Moira and Natalia, who combat skills are limited, but they have usefulness outside in different areas, like for puzzle solving. Like, Moira felt kind of like weak when she wasn't swinging that crowbar around, but Natalia, to be able to see where enemies are, I really like that element a lot.
Yeah, I thought it was way more interesting than Resident Evil 5 or 6's co-op, where basically both characters pretty much fulfill the same role. They might have slightly different attacks or whatever, but in this game, it's like one person has the responsibility of, using guns, holding onto the ammo, and it's the other person's job to support that character. And I thought that was really interesting.
Mm-hmm. And they've done a better job, I feel like, than they have with AI support stuff, because the AI, at least once you get the skill where they'll start attacking stuff for you, which you can get. Like, I find that that's a weird thing to be unlocked, but you can unlock it really quickly, and it's probably the best skill to unlock.
Yeah. The AI is still iffy no matter what you do. I personally found that my experience was better when I was always playing the character that uses guns, just because this is another thing that was kind of weird. They actually talk about this in the tutorial, that your partner character, their health will regenerate. I assume that meant the character that you aren't playing as, their health will regenerate, but that's not the case. When they say that, they mean only Moira's and Natalia's health regenerate. So if you play as that character, then whoever the AI is, if they keep screwing up, their health won't regenerate. So it tends to fare better if you play the person who uses guns.
I noticed that element of it a little bit more. Have you gotten into any of the extra chapter stuff yet? That was
No,
I started.
I
Okay, go.
I mean I looked into it for like a little, but I didn't really have enough time to get fully immersed in it.
I started messing around with the struggle, which is the first one that features Moira along with another character that you run into the game, the old Russian guy who points that gun at one point.
Mm,
And it's interesting thing because it's reusing old areas of the game, which is fine, but it's adding in new systems, especially when I don't know if this is exclusive just for hardcore mode, but you have a ration system where you're actually hunting animals on the island because you have to survive for that 6-month period of time. And if you fail an area, it's a UI thing. It shows like if you hunt enough parts of an animal, you'll get a ration up in the top left. And if you fail a section of the game, it takes away one of those rations from you. And if you run out of rations and fail, the game cuts you off and it deletes your save.
it sounds almost like a combination of Assignment Ada and Metal Gear.
I mean, like the reusing of those elements, yeah, and I can see sort of the Snake Eater thing from it as well. But it's cool though, since you're playing as Moira and she's getting over her fear of guns for that, because I think they've actually said the good ending was canon. But I mean, honestly, if you look up the good and the bad ending of the game, like the important thing is Natalia's getting mind controlled one way or another. So, um,
Right.
but Moira gets to trot around the island with the old guy, and the old guy will actually have a sniper rifle, and he will support you, but he also regenerates health and stuff like that as well when you're not using him.
Nice.
And you can switch to him though and start using, and that's like kind of close to what RE5 or RE6 was with partner characters, and they can both use guns, and it's nice that that dynamic is sort of preserved in the game itself. Like when you're going to these old areas, you end up going against like lots and lots of waves of enemies, like those big fire guys, for example, that are bad.
Mm-hmm.
Try fighting 2 of those guys at the same time, along with like 3 of the mace wielders. So
Oh, great. That's going to be so much fun.
I think it's a really nice addition, honestly, because it's very combat heavy and takes away from the puzzle stuff in a kind of different way than raid mode is, which I think is I mean, you said some people were sort of decrying it, and I can see because it's reusing a lot of old assets, but I was enjoying what I've played of it so far. It's really tough if you play on hardcore.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, since you mentioned Moira and her fear of guns, did you want to get into the story of this game?
Yeah, so we might as well absolutely do that. Like, what do you think of the mystery setup that was done with the episodic thing?
I thought it was interesting. I thought it served the game well.
Mm-hmm.
Because for a few reasons. I was actually kind of confused why they decided to do it in an episodic manner, since they weren't writing it as they went along. They kind of just released it, for the sake of making it episodes. But there were 2 reasons why I thought this served them well. One, because it made you sit on it and you wanted to play the next section. You sort of kept getting the game and the story in piecemeal, and you kind of just wanted more. But also because it kept the game relevant, weeks after it came out, rather than if they just released it all at once. Because I noticed on the Xbox Live Store, every time a new episode came out, it was on the front page, like week after week after week. So it kept the game relevant longer than it would have if it was just one game or, just one release.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there entirely. Like, it's probably no doubt that the game was entirely finished by the time the first episode was released, and they were just holding them. I imagine, like, did you buy when you bought it on the 360? Did you buy it through the Xbox store? Or did you buy it on disc?
No, I bought it through the store.
Okay, I'm curious if like people on disc had to download actual stuff, or if it was like a few megabyte unlock key each week or something like that. But yeah, I really did like and I think just having it physically limited to me each week from like a review perspective is fantastic for you and me, because that way you're only spending like 3 or 4 hours a week at the most. as opposed to trying to get through a 16-hour game as fast as you possibly can to get that review up. Like you can do an episode review or something like that, and it's very similar to a TV show, or you wait till the end and just do the series review, which is what I guess this is. But having that physical limitation too makes me look at the original Revelations, and it makes a little bit more sense to me. Just if I had, well, like, because I was playing like each chapter of Revelations back to back to back, try to get through it as fast as possible, and I was just perplexed as to why somebody would need. Well, I understood why the recap stuff was there. It was mainly a holdover from when it was a portable game, and people would, you would play an episode on the train or something like that, or and then you'd close it, and then you maybe pick it up a few hours later. But if you played the episodes back to back to back, you were like, we're sort of overlapping on some plot point stuff here.
Right.
Like I put this in the review. People that pick up the season pass for this, I think the best way to play it. I mean, I don't necessarily think you need to wait a week between each episode, but play each character section like once. Play a Claire section and a Barry section from chapter 1, and just have it done for the day and sit on it for a little while, and let you think about the mystery things.
Right.
Yeah, this is the most episodic an episodic game has gotten, just to have a regular schedule, waiting each week. You compare that to something like Telltale. I've been waiting for 2 months to get another episode of Tales from the Borderland that just came out last week, and that's not really episodic in some ways.
Right, because by the time you wait so long, and eventually you just sort of lose interest.
Right. It's good for some Telltale games, because when you get the whole package out, I feel like for a lot of them the ideal way is to play an episode a day. But it's a shame you have to wait months and months and months for that whole thing. If Capcom does this format again for Revelations 3 or whatever, I'm totally behind it. Like, from the marketing standpoint, I think it makes sense. Get people in at a really cheap cost, and like you said, keeping relevance over a few weeks, I think, is notable. Major gaming sites were reviewing each episode, and that way it was definitely staying in the news each week, from the gaming press cycle standpoint. And from marketplace stuff, yeah, like you pointed out, you probably are going to get a pretty high hit every week by having a new episode up.
Right.
I think a better thing to do actually would probably make the first episode free, give them a taste, and then that's when they're addicted to, Black Tar Heroin.
Right, and that's what Telltale does typically. The first episode's free, and then for the rest of the episodes you have to pay for them.
Okay, so I guess real story stuff then. We've got obviously some returning vets for Resident Evil series stuff, very similar to like how Revelations brought back Chris and Jill. This time it's Claire from Resident Evil 2, and she was in Degeneration and Veronica X. And then we have Barry Burton, who was in the original Resident Evil. He was also in the Game Boy Resident Evil with Leon, but that's not canon anymore. He
had a cameo in 3.
Right. For 3, it's like each time you played through the game, you would get one of, I think it was like 8 different endings, maybe 10, that was showing each character from like Resident Evil series, talking about where they went. Barry's in one of those. I know Hunk's in one of those, for example. Leon's in one of those. That's when he gets brought into like the government agency to become a badass spy or whatever. Yeah, this is like I think this might be the first time we've played as Barry, if you don't include Resident Evil 5 Gold.
Right.
Yeah. And it's notable. I can't remember who the original voice actor was for like the very first Resident Evil, or it's a remake, but Michael McConaughey is the guy who does Barry Burton this time around, and I think he does a really good job with it. I think he sort of captures the kitschiness. He gives the whole fatherly feel a lot. Like, I'm surprised he doesn't scold his daughter more for how many F-bombs she decided to drop, but I liked Barry. And like, if you go back and get the good ending, he does some pretty ridiculous stuff. And obviously the references to Jill sandwiches and whatnot there's so many references in this game. Like chapter 4, and you get through the mine, like, oh, there's a mansion. Of course there's a mansion.
I love that. I was like, oh, they just couldn't resist. They just had to stick a mansion in there somewhere.
I could not like stop grinning ear to ear. I was so glad that for whatever reason there's a mansion at the bottom of a mine shaft.
I love it, dude. Barry's just like, speak for yourself. I've had enough of mansions for one lifetime.
Yeah, no. Barry was pretty good. He's like got some silly moments, and he's got some sad moments too. I like Natalia a lot as a character. I think that she is one of the least annoying child characters that's ever been done, and like she's actually seems pretty sweet. So,
Yeah, she almost has a Clementine type feel to her, almost.
Moira
Yeah,
is ridiculous.
yeah. I mean, it's pretty obvious they were trying to appeal to people our age with her character.
I guess, but it's just like even when I was, trying to swear as much as possible because I had just learned about curse words, like some of them are like so elaborately creatively put together, I guess, that they just like you've lost brevity, and then some just don't make any sense.
I don't even know what a moist barrel of it. Never mind.
Yeah. Anyway,
It's.
then,
I mean, she's supposed to be a new face. She's one of those. It's like, oh, she's supposed to represent the new audience for the game.
yeah, I don't know. She seems to be like complaining a lot, and you probably would in that situation. That I understand. Like there's very few moments though that are like, oh, well, that's sweet or that's nice, or like I guess when she's being nice to Natalia, for example, like that was one of the better moments that she had. But all in
Right.
all, like. And I guess she's got some interesting backstory stuff because it's been mentioned before that Barry had two daughters, and like her fear of guns and stuff seems like a good enough setup as to why she wouldn't be using a gun, and it leads to a nice sort of payoff moment in chapter 3. It's very odd. Like a lot of people are criticizing that moment about the character switch stuff, and that's the main thing that determines between good and bad endings. And like,
Yeah, I mean, I understand how they're not happy with that, but I mean, in terms of story, though, that's about as heavy as Resident Evil has ever gotten. I mean, like when you think about video games, you don't think of real world gun violence or gun accidents,
and
but for them
it's
to
essentially a form of post-traumatic stress disorder. The like you're not going to pick it up because you almost killed your sister or something like that. Like, yeah, like
right,
it's a plot convenience point for why she doesn't use a gun, but it she gets over that. It explains the good ending as well. So I mean that's something.
right. Now, I got the bad ending, and I'm working right now to try and get the good ending. I had to go back and I had to redo that part and go through the whole thing again. But so I got the bad ending. Did you want to talk about each ending? And
I do, and I do just a sec, but it's worth noting that you wanted to go right to that, and we totally forgot to talk about Claire because I don't think
That's
Claire
right.
does that much. Like,
She doesn't. I mean, it's nice to see her because she hasn't been relevant for a while, except for Degeneration. But she kind of fills the, she's the. I don't want to say silent protagonist, but she's sort of just a pair of shoes.
I even felt like Jill has had more personality than Claire before, but I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah,
like I guess she's a series favorite for some. I know a lot of people like to cosplay her as a lot just because of her red jacket from RE2 and stuff like that. But she seems really
right.
forgettable to me for this episode, which is kind of a shame.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I like how she had a new look at the end of the good ending, and maybe she'll get some more character development. But um,
But yeah,
yeah,
so
I just
the
of all
endings.
four characters, I would say she's the most dull.
Mm-hmm. Um, so the sequences leading up to once again said that the thing that determines the endings doesn't seem very clear at the beginning. Apparently, it's very easy to miss that swap character prompt, and it with as slow as Moira goes, I would see a lot of players be like, "Oh, I should swap back because she's not going to make it." Like I'm glad it doesn't kill Claire outright, and it doesn't necessarily say that like Moira is dead either, although it's pretty much heavily implied. Um,
Right.
the main thing is, doesn't Talia do her Wesker transform in front of Barry, or does she read news articles in the Barry household or something like that? But we've set up a new antagonist, is what both of them do.
Yeah. So they decided to go with bringing the villain that they've been teasing since Lost in Nightmares in Resident Evil 5. So
I looked like through the wiki stuff. I'm pretty sure that is the first mention because RE5 has the first mention of the Wesker children,
mm,
which is the first time we've thought about Wesker being sort of like clone stuff type things. And then it was a mistranslation, or I guess on translation stuff, that a lot of people thought Alex was a guy to begin with. But when it was brought over here, like the gender wasn't specified. If you go back through that Lost in Nightmare stuff, it talks about how Spencer was looking to get immortality and that Alex had helped him achieve that, or what he thought was going to be. And it's sort of that continuation of what she wants in this game.
Right. It noted that she was very close. She had almost solved it, but then at the last moment she disappeared along with all of the research, and Spencer was sort of just left twisting in the wind. And in this game you find out that, she has unlocked it, but not quite how you would expect. It's not through a virus or for modifications, but she found out that the way to immortality is to basically clone your brain and sort of transfer your memories into somebody else who's immune to fear.
Right. Apparently that's like one of the big things, and maybe a little bit contrived, but it plays into some of the other stuff that's going on in the episode. The idea that the process doesn't work if you are afraid of dying or something like that, for example.
Yeah.
And that ends up being the ultimate thing of the mystery. See, the reason that she takes all these people from TerraSave, that ad at the front with TerraSave though is fantastic.
Because terror doesn't have to with the word wrist.
God, it's so bad. But yeah, so they think that they're all going to be like more hardened against fear. Claire, that makes sense with. Pedro, that doesn't make any sense with me at all. Moira doesn't either, but whatever. I guess she's not scared at all, despite how scared she seems. Let's see, we got Mary Elizabeth McGlynn doing Alex Wesker's voice, mainly as the overseer throughout, and I think she does a pretty good job of adding some menace, evoking that sort of cryptic Resident Evil esoteric weird mythology stuff going on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really glad that they decided to bring a Wesker back, just because Wesker had been the main villain for so long, and since they killed him off in 5, their attempt to sort of have a villain in Resident Evil 6 just didn't really work. So I'm glad that they're trying to bring some of Wesker's recognizability back to the series.
It was quite a little bait and switch there, for Chapter 4 of Claire to get there, and she shoots herself in the head, and that's whoa, I guess no boss fight then. And
Yeah.
instead you get the escape section. It's wasn't expecting that. At the same time, I think that sort of puts off in the future the idea that, because obviously she's in Natalia's body, if you get the bad ending, you can see Natalia do some early Wesker-esque kind of stuff of doing the stab and taking out the Ouroboros core or stuff like that. So she might be semi-superpowered. I also thought it was interesting that Monster Alex's form reminded me a lot of Lisa Trevor from the remake.
Yeah.
One of the things about what makes Lisa Trevor who she is that she essentially is the test subject, where she has all these different viruses that are essentially balancing each other out, along with a nemesis parasite inside of her. And that's why she's so damn tough and she won't die and things like that. And Alex mentioned something similar, that she's got all these damn viruses inside of her and things like that, as if she was trying to replicate that thing that Wesker did to himself, put in a virus and get all superpowered. Wesker, to get that to trigger for Wesker, though, he had to actually end up dying and then be resuscitated essentially through it, which is kind of similar to what she's doing, which is interesting to note, some sort of thematic death and rebirth things that I guess Resident Evil is pulling.
And with him, it was a total accident. Plus, I mean, in Resident Evil 5, you learned that he had to take hourly injections just to keep it under control.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, and then the twist of it is that, and I love that you get this in a diary, and it essentially lays everything out. And I was seeing what you're saying, and Barry still doesn't get it after all that. Granted, it is because we were able to see the apparatus and the actual brain transfer stuff from Claire's perspective. like I feel like the mention of a host in the transfer stuff is in the diary there, and I feel like Barry should have picked up on it. But I guess if that's a little bit high concept stuff, then maybe that's
Yeah, I
why
mean
do you
Claire
hate her
does
so
it too.
much?
It's like it seems pretty obvious why they want to do what they do in the diary, and yet for some reason the characters are still like, "Oh, get it."
I mean, maybe
Just
it might be just because we get both perspectives there that it makes more sense to us. But I
that's
do
true.
agree. I feel like you should be able to pick it up in the diary. But anyways, like the fact that right before she pulled the trigger in front of Claire, she felt a moment of fear is what prevented her from. It's not. She still died, but because she felt fear, it triggered the T Phobos virus, which gets
Right,
triggered by fear and brought her back to life.
and turned her into an ugly hunchback thing.
Right.
Um,
That's
so,
spine, though.
so Natalia is basically still set up to possibly become Wesker because I didn't see the good ending, so I don't know what happens to her.
Good ending. Well, good ending's great because Moira comes in. Shoot, I mean, you should definitely look it up on YouTube if, or I mean, obviously play through to get to it. Moira comes in, shoots She Wesker, so Natalia never dies and wakes back up as Alex again, which once again that death rebirth thing.
Right.
And then they make an escape out. Claire comes in on a chopper and a sniper rifle. And you get to play this really cool boss sequence where you're swapping between Claire on the chopper sniping Alex that's chasing Barry on the cliff. And Barry, like whenever Barry goes inside of the caves on the cliffside, you switch to him. I believe he has unlimited Magnum ammo at that point. And she will cut off different like exit sections and stuff like that so that you can't really take the same path twice. And after you deal enough damage, Barry says, "Come on, Claire, use the big gun." And of course you look over to the left in the chopper and there's a rocket launcher right on the side, just the same way it was in RE5. Like that's how you kill Weskers, with rocket launchers. So ends up killing it with that. So and then it says 2 years later, there's mention like Claire's driving to go bring a present to Natalia. She's on the phone and says, "Oh, he's going to China now. Well, make sure that Piers takes care of him." And you see Natalia in the second floor of the Burton household, reading Kafka and articles about biohazard stuff going on, and she smirks. So she is in the custody of the Burtons, but she is probably Alex now at this point. So,
Ooh, to be continued.
yeah, my guess is they either accelerate her aging or make it something where the Natalia persona is conflicting with the Alex persona or something. But we have the setup to have another Wesker now, which I think is a good thing.
All right. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. So let's see. Yeah, I guess you want to go like that's most of the plot point-esque kind of stuff in there. I really like that they brought back they like made mention to the Ouroboros virus, and a lot of the enemies are definitely Ouroboros. They have like that orange core.
Right.
I feel like this is a really good take on like the regenerator type enemies, where you had to find out what part of their body had the core on it, and then expose it.
It also, like, the Revenants reminded me a lot of the first boss fight with Ouroboros, where you had to trap it in the oven.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
very...
it was cool though with Natalia, because if you switch to her like psychic powers, you could see where on the regenerator-esque enemies where that core was, and that's where you knew where to shoot for, which
right.
I liked a lot.
Yeah.
Did you ever get caught by those invisible fly enemies?
Oh, I did. I hate those things.
I didn't get caught at all until the very end of Claire's chapter when you're making the escape, and I was too busy making my escape. There's a lot of time sections in this game, I realize, actually. A lot of time escape, like when the factory is blowing up, and then, of course, they put a chest right there for you to crowbar open, like, oh, let me get this part first.
Yeah, and if you really like time sections, you can play through the entire episodes in a time, like, under time limit. What, they have countdown mode where you play each section?
It's like a time attack mode. It's either you do it as fast as you can or they have a time limit on it. You want to talk about like replay value. Like,
Right.
there are so many collectibles out there in this game. And then you have countdown. You have harder difficulties. You have countdown mode. You have invisible enemy mode, which is a really cool callback to Remake One. And then, like I said, the extra episodes and raid mode. There's a lot of content here.
Yeah, there is. Sure. Like I said, I'll probably be replaying this quite a bit, kind of like with Resident Evil 4, because Resident Evil 4 also had a lot of stuff to unlock.
The inclusion also of a skill tree, I think, is pretty nice. To make your, like, when you start getting your dodge up is really good. I think the weapon system is done just about right. Like, there's a few weapon upgrades over all the chapters. I think the only one I missed was Barry's AK.
Yeah. It's like this game, one of the biggest criticisms I had for Resident Evil 6 was that there just never felt like there was any progression. You would find some new guns, but there was no skill tree, there was no weapon upgrades, there was no body armor you could buy. It just, like, the game just got really stale because there were hardly any breaks and there was no progression. This game fixes that by stepping back and having progression, workbenches, and all these other things to sort of make you feel like you're getting more powerful.
Mm-hmm. I thought there was going to be at one point in the episode where I had picked up a gun with Claire that was going to make it so that I couldn't get the gun with Mary, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Like, there was like a shotgun on the wall, because I found it kind of strange she had 2 shotguns by the end of it, but like, it all ended up working out fine. And like, the part system returns from RE Revelations, and I like that a lot. I don't understand why charge shot as a mechanic, like, I like it a lot. It doesn't make a lot of sense why I can charge a pistol shot. I guess I'm taking better aim or something, but yeah.
Don't question it.
Can you tell me any more about some of the co-op stuff that you've done? Were there any sections that really stood out that having a second player helped out a lot with, or puzzle solving?
I mean, yeah, puzzles definitely go a lot faster. You feel far more effective because sometimes with the AI partner, they just won't shoot, or sometimes Moira just won't use her flashlight or her crowbar for some reason. I don't know why. So it felt like we were chopping through enemies a hell of a lot faster than if you're playing by yourself. Another nice thing is that it's a lot faster to finish off enemies when you're both playing at the same time. But overall, just feels like you're much stronger than if you're playing by yourself.
It took me a little while to get accustomed to it with Claire, because it would be like you'd knock down with Claire and then you have to switch over to Moira and run up with the crowbar. But once I got it, because there's that little small, like, bullet time thing as you're doing the swap, it feels all right. Yeah. And you said, like, the person you played with is not super adept at video games, right? Like, she had some experience with them, but
right. And I was just surprised how easy it was for her to sort of pick it up and just go at it with Moira, because even if you're not necessarily the greatest at aiming, she can just sort of stick to crowbar duty and just sort of beat the pulp out of any enemies you come across.
Yeah, we were originally going to try to play and possibly even record episodes of us doing the co-op stuff, and I'm curious, like, for people that do more like regular gaming stuff, if it becomes boring to play as a partner character, if there's still some interesting stuff. Am I always like tracking down bricks to throw, for example? And I guess the bottles also, like, the bottle system helps a lot as well for making. God, those things clogged up my inventory by the end.
That's true, but what's funny is that I noticed when playing co-op, they did the annoying thing again with the screen.
There's like a black section in the top, and then at the bottom, it's like offset.
I don't know what Capcom's fetish for that is. It's a waste of screen. It just, I don't understand.
Do something with, like, rendering on a system level or something like that. I can't fathom it either.
It's just like, I don't know. Why would you design like split screen and then have it so that, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15% of the screen is just black?
I wonder if modders on the PC will try to fix that and bring everything back to center.
Probably.
For the raid mode, I think I sent you a text about this. Like, when I was playing it originally, when you would find parts or weapons on the stage, it would do a big old flash thing in the middle of the screen.
Right.
Block off a lot of screen real estate and stay up there for a little while, and it's a good way to get yourself killed. In our most recent patch, though, it moved it off to the side, so, like, they're capable of patching UI stuff and changing things around, so I'm hoping they might do that in the future.
Yeah, and that's definitely helpful, because, I mean, it wasn't horrible in the sense of like you could sort of work your way around it just by waiting until the very end to open all the chests, but that definitely helps because sometimes you see the chest and you don't want to forget about it.
How much raid mode stuff have you done?
Quite a bit. I have gotten to about, I think my highest level character is 26.
It's either a 26 or 30. It's somewhere for me right there. I'm playing a lot as Hunk because he unlocks 4 weapon slots very quickly.
Yeah, it's and there's also a lot of characters to unlock in there. I've unlocked. Well, you get characters depending on which episodes you have, and then you will get more characters depending on how many completion medals you get. Currently, I unlocked Leon and Chris.
Mm-hmm. Chris's like coat of armor thing, he turns all silver. This is kind of weird.
Yeah, the character abilities make no sense.
Yeah, and then you got like really random additions, like Gina Foley, for example. She appears for like 3 seconds in the story, and then she's never elaborated on at all. She seems to be a reference to another character from Revelations 1 who also got killed off very early and actually zombified. Rachel Foley, I think, is who she was. The one with the ridiculous wetsuit and the hair over her eyes. I think that's her sister. Yep. So I guess it's just going to be a trope now that a Foley sibling gets killed every Revelations episode for whatever reason. Should be kind of funny. And she's got the thing where you can do taunts and stuff. Like, see, that's the thing. Like, why wouldn't raid mode ship with an online if you can do taunts and things like that, which are totally should be a thing that you do when you're playing with a partner? Like, it baffles me. I want to do that hip hop dance with Wesker with you in sequence.
I don't know. Capcom is really weird sometimes with the stuff they do. There's also some freemium stuff to do with
like the microtransactions. They feel so limp compared to what Capcom typically does. Like, I want to meet the person who buys the like 12-pack of red raid crystals because they're dying so much because you get so many from daily missions. Like, I'm in my like 20-ish right now, something playing with some regularity. The 99-cent packs of weapons also don't make a lot of sense to me either.
I'd rather have freemium stuff like that that's totally unnecessary than stuff that they shove in where they make it necessary.
At the same time, maybe this was all just a genius plot because, like we say, that's all useless stuff, but we both, after we downloaded this game and played through some of the story, or did the raid mode up front, we both instantly went out and bought Wesker for $249. So maybe that's the evil like scenario thing where we're gonna make all this unattractive content, but we know everybody's gonna buy Wesker because everybody loves Wesker. Ask DC Douglas if we can reuse like 5 of his lines.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, raid mode is really repetitive right now, but it's still actually pretty fun to. I'm getting to the point where upgrading guns is like getting kind of interesting after combining parts a lot. Like, some of the stuff is a little misleading on it. The things like Lifestealer, for example, I thought you had to do a melee ground kill, but it's just if you get a kill with a weapon. So you put like Lifestealer on a shotgun, you don't need to heal anymore, which is good.
Yeah, that's true.
Certain skills pop up as better. Like, you're always going for the completion medal, so you're never going to take the thing that lets you use more herbs because you don't want to use more herbs.
Right, that doesn't really make sense to me.
But flat health as an upgrade is always good. The weapon mastery stuff to carry more ammunition is fantastic. Characters with scavenger.
Right.
I really just want to see, though, how it interacts with having 2 people play together, which we're supposed to be getting a patch for sometime soon.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's see. Do you think there's going to be a Revelations 3?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Because this game sold really well, and the first Revelations sold very well.
So my thinking, I guess, for pair-ups for that, if we're looking at ways things are done before, I would guess Leon and Rebecca Chambers.
Yeah, well, that could work.
I know some people have been clamoring for, like, some people were pissed that Rebecca wasn't in, as a raid mode character. What other Resident Evil characters can you think of that, like, I guess, what...
no one's seen Billy since 0.
Yeah, Billy is pretty popular. And then your partner character in 5.
Sheva.
Sheva, yeah. We have no indication what happened to Sheva after that game.
Yeah, I was actually shocked she didn't show up in 6, but yeah, she wasn't there.
I guess if you have it earlier in the timeline, you can put Piers before his fateful incident.
Well, that's true. But I mean, I know a lot of people really love Barry, and I know that they were really excited when they announced that he would be playable in the game.
I mean, he's great. He's got a lot of guns. He's got his Magnum and everything like that. It works out pretty well for all things considered.
Right.
Are there any other RE big characters that I'm forgetting? I feel like there are. Louis Serra's backstory.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
The poor guy.
I mean, it would like if I was gonna ask for anything more, I still miss some of the dodge options and stuff from RE6. Like the combat still probably, I think the raid mode in 6 still stands out as feeling really, really good to me, and being able to roll dodge and stuff like that. Like we're almost like I liked being able to actively control my dodge this time around. That was good.
Yeah, because Revelations I didn't like the sort of where you had to time it almost perfectly.
I mean, it was like a concession for the 3DS when it was made. So
yeah, but I mean, yeah, like I mean, Revelations, you're not as mobile in Revelations as you are in 6, but I mean, Revelation still does a really good job of making the combat feel really tight.
yeah, the enemies are slowed down enough to where it compensates for how you dodge things as well. But you can get overwhelmed, obviously, if you're not playing right, and if you're not being doing the knockdown and then the ground kill stuff to be ammo efficient. That's a thing as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm.
Also, benefit of playing with 2 people.
Oh, is that you can pull that off? Yeah. How is like swapping gear, because it was easy enough with one player. Did you guys ever get confused with swapping around inventory stuff?
Not really, because one person can sort of just take control of that. Nice, you can go into the other person's inventory and just take what you need, so the other person doesn't have to worry about it. It's also nice for new players because since the partner character's health regenerates, they don't have to worry about green herbs like ever.
And when they're doing lockpicking mini games, are you able to still just mess around and like fight enemies while they lockpick?
Yeah,
that's good. That seems like it would be a nice thing to do. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love lockpicking mini games. Like, it's my favorite part. It's one of my favorite parts of Fallout, for example, is picking locks. I guess that says something about me, but and they do some interesting stuff with it, where like during the time section, you'll be under pressure and like, do I stick around? Or I remember there's one puzzle where blades are coming towards you, and you have to, like, Claire is stuck down at the bottom, and Moira has to choose between getting an item that she can't go back for or shutting off the blades, and can she do both of those fast enough?
Right.
Were there any sections that stood out to you as being scary?
Scary. Yeah, no, not really. This game isn't really that scary.
I have one section that gave me a jump scare, and that was in the mansion area in episode 4, when you've gotten, I think, the level 2 security card, and you start backtracking through the mansion again. Maybe it's the crest key. Some of those regenerator guys will start popping out of the air ducts up top, and I'd been using Natalia to see through walls and be able to see where they are, but yeah, I wasn't looking up, and it popped down, and it just like, oh,
that is right. The first time you run into those regenerators, that actually got me in the game, because it was like you looked up, you saw something dripping, and I was like, what's supposed to happen? And then I switched to Natalia, and I can see it in the ceiling, and then suddenly it just drops down. I was like, okay, you got me there, game.
Okay, must be like, yeah, just a few little moment stuff there, but yeah. Is there anything else worth going over on this stuff? You just like, because I feel like we covered all the little bits there with the the story thing going on.
I think we covered a good bit of it. I mean, like I said, regardless if you have someone else to play with, there's still so much stuff to unlock. You can earn BP and unlock concept art and figurines and all this other stuff. It'll keep you busy for a while.
Yeah, I played through this game totally solo, and I think it's still absolutely worth it. If you were a fan of Resident Evil 0, for example, that other thing where it was a 2-character system. You could swap between them, or you could control both of them with the left stick and the C stick. which was kind of funky. But
It's like Brothers.
it's maybe kind of before Brothers was a thing, but the zombies.
Yeah.
Like it still works out really well even as a single player game. This is probably, I feel like this is the best Resident Evil's been since 5, maybe.
Yeah.
Like everything just seems to be like clicking and firing and working so well. They've clearly learned lessons from the game prior. It's at a reduced price point. I feel like it's like what you see budget game price points, but there is so much content and it follows the RE formula so well that it doesn't feel like a budget. It feels like a $60 title to me.
Yeah. And I just hope that they carry these lessons forward with Resident Evil 7, because I know that Capcom has a bad habit of, it's like 1 step forward, 2 steps back. I just really hope that Resident Evil 7 is actually a step forward without any backtracking.
I mean, even the backtracking stuff, like, this is one of the things I pulled up, like, it seems very deja vu of what Devil May Cry 4 did, where you would do all the stages backwards as Dante. Because typically when you go from one episode, you're playing from one perspective, you go forward with Claire and Moira, and then you're going, like, you're either following or you're going in a different path over the same environments, but with Barry. But it switches up enough stuff, and you're like, oh, I've been here before. What's changed? Because you have that, you discover that it's been 6 months within the first episode.
Well, that's true. And like another gripe I had with Resident Evil 6 is it felt too linear. Like there wasn't. Sometimes backtracking can be really good in terms of just making you get to know the space. And like with Spencer Mansion specifically, you were very creeped out in that place, and all the backtracking sort of made you really nervous, especially when they added the Crimson Head mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
This game sort of made you. It sort of made you think a bit more because you had switched back and forth between a 6-month interval. So you were like, okay, so what's different this time that maybe wasn't so different 6 months ago?
Or you're trying to remember back to like when you're playing as Claire and Moira, you're like, oh, there's a chest that I can't get with her, but I can get with Natalia. I need to remember to come back to it with Natalia and Barry. Like that's another thing.
Right.
Yeah. I had another point, and now I've totally forgotten about what I was gonna. Damn it. Oh well. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got. The review for this should be up very soon. If you're an RE fan, especially I guess if you probably listened through all this, got yourself spoiled, I definitely think it's worth checking out.
Yes, I would agree.
Okay, I think that's going to be everything. I got some other things I've got to attend to today. DJ, thank you so much for joining me on this. This is an unexpected and nice surprise of a game to come out during March when all the games are starting to come out now. So,
yeah, it was fun.
Cool. Alrighty, I will catch you later. Y'all take it easy.
All right.